Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can use Actix Web, a web framework written in Rust, and use it with JSON Web Token to create something like user authentication. I don't know, like 99% of the use cases of JWT are user authentication. So the first part I'm going to show you how you can encode, create a token and decode the token, so read the values from it. And in the second part, I'm going to show something really cool, how we can make protected routes in Actix Web without relying on middlewares. We're going to create our own custom extractor and can make our routes protected very easily. So let's dive into the code. The first part are the dependencies. So the Actix Web and JSON Web Token should be obvious as the dependency. Third, because we're going to need serialization, we're not going to need to create JSONs out of our structs we're going to create, and chrono we're going to need for the token. I'm going to show you when we're going to need it because it's really neat and will make one part of creating the token really simple. So let's dive into the main RS file. Here you can see I've already created a bare bones web server running on port 4000. And then here is the user scope. Like a scope in Actix Web is like a router. So we're gonna add the user router to it. The user router has 3 routes: encode token, decode token, and protected. And as you can see, the first encode token has an ID as a parameter, and we're gonna exit it by adding the path function parameter to our function, what's called route function handler, I don't know. So let's do that. So web path with the type useSize, and we're also going to add the secret in here because we're gonna add the access the app data. We're gonna add an app data where our secret token is stored. So all our routes have access to this token without storing it in a variable or reading it from a file or something. So the secret is web.data and of type string. So let's add the app data in here to our application. So we're gonna say web data new string from, and let's make it really secret by giving it the value secret because we are serious. It's really secret. So the first thing is we're gonna get the ID that's in the route, in the path. So ID, let useSize, and we're gonna call path into inner should be the function. And then we're also going to, yeah, that's it. Like now we are going to encode our token. For encoding our token, creating our token, we also need to describe or declare what kind of payload is inside the token. So it's called claims. So in the documentation of the JSON Web Token, it's called claims. It does not only have the payload, but also other stuff we're gonna need to create. We're gonna need to add one field to it to make it work, but let's just make it so. And we're gonna define the claims ourselves. So we're gonna have a struct that derives serialize and deserialize. And the struct claims, and it's gonna have the ID, which is of type useSize, and it also have an expiration date, like how long our token is valid, and this is also of type useSize. So the ID is ID. We already got the ID. We're just gonna take the ID from the path and then create a token out of this ID, just for a simple example on how to use JWT. In real world situation, you wouldn't want just to create web tokens just like that. And let's make the expiration date also useSize. And for the expiration date, we're gonna use chrono. So we're gonna need 2 things. We're gonna need chrono UTC and duration. We need UTC to get the current date, the current time, and we're gonna add to it a duration of 1 year. In a real world situation, you wouldn't want to do that. You didn't like, okay, let's explain, like you wouldn't want just to create a token that's 1 year valid or valid for a long time without having a way to make it unvalid, like using a database. I'm gonna link a blog, an article from, I think it's from Microsoft, where it's gonna describe how to use Bearer, Session, and what's called refresh tokens to make a real safe application, like a user authentication. But for now, it's just a simple explanation to show you how it's done. So we're gonna cast it as usize, because timestamp function, if I remember it correctly, is going to return an integer, like e size, I don't know, I size. So we're gonna add it in here, and that should be it. Now we can create the token out of it. So let's do that. Let's create the token, and we're gonna call the encode function, which is inside JSON Web Token. And encode. So the encode function it needs 3 parameters, function parameters. So the first one should be the header, which is also inside the JSON Web Token crate, which we're gonna just add the default header. Then we're going to give it the claims. And the last one is the encoding key, the secret. Encoding key from secret. And this one is going to need secret as a string, as a reference. We're gonna cast it as a string because the secret is of type string, and then we're gonna give it a reference because it's like needs, I don't know what's called, but it's like an U8 array. So reference is gonna cast it as a buffer. I think it's called buffer or something like that. So and then we're gonna unwrap it. So in here you would normally do like error checking, like a match statement to check if it went fine, but for now it's testing purposes, and probably this one should work. If there's an error, it should panic, so we as a developer know there's a bug in our code. So yeah, that's it. We created a token, so let's respond with a token. And for that I've already created the response in here, but I don't have the struct response written, so let's create serialize, deserialize. Serialize is such a difficult word to type. So we have struct response, which is message and string. And we are not only going to respond with a message, but we are creating a new struct. This is like a default response, and this struct is like encode response, which also has the token of type string. So let's go back to this function here at the end, and we're gonna return encode response, which has the message, and we're gonna something like success, I don't know, and the token. Yep. And we're gonna respond with it, and let's check if that worked. Let's go into the directory, and let's make it a little bit bigger for you guys, and let's say cargo 1. Oh, I didn't import all the functions like serialize. Yeah, we're gonna need to import cert as well. So use cert, serialize, and deserialize. Do we need something other than that? HTTP response? No, that should be fine, I guess. So let's see. Let's clear the screen. An application. Oh yeah, we also need the encoding key and the header. The header of JSON Web Token. So header and encoding key. And we're going to add also web in here. Maybe I'm gonna cut all those errors out, but let's see how long the video will be and how I will cut the video. So now it works. Let's see, let's make an HTTP request on port 4000 and we're gonna say user.encode, what's the route code? Like encode token. One. And we wanted to route it on for code token /ID. Oh, I'm done. So now you can see we created a token. And yeah, now we want to decode the token. Now we want to get the ID that we stored inside this token. So how we're gonna do that is really simple. First we're gonna go in here and we're gonna have a decode token, which is an post route. And so we're gonna access the token by having the body. We're gonna send the token through the body. And web JSON with the type decode body. And we're also gonna need the secret, obviously, because we wanna decode the token. We're gonna need the secret for that. And it's web.data.string. So, but we need to create the struct decode body. Deserialize, and then so. And yeah, it's the struct decode body. The decode body is going to have the token, which will be of type string. So let token, or what we're gonna call it, let decode it. Let decode it, and we're gonna call the function decode also from the JSON web token. Great. So, and we will pass claims in here. So it also needs 3 parameters, and the first one should be the token of itself. So let's by body.token. Third one should be the decoding key from secret, and yeah, it should be just secret.asSDR as ref. And the last one is the validation. And we're gonna make it so like validation new, like the validation method we're gonna use, and we're gonna use algorithm HS256. Oh, that's it. And this one is of type. What does it return? It returns a result. It's either token data with the type claims passed to it, or it's an JWT error, which we're gonna import very soon. So yeah, let's import that. And we're gonna need the decoding key, the validation, and the algorithm. So the decode function, and we're also gonna need token data. So, and now we're gonna say if that, like, the decode function is going to try to decode the token, and if it fails, it's gonna throw an error, and if not, we're gonna have token data and gonna have access to the claims that we passed in the encode function to it. So we're gonna call make a match statement with decoded, and if it's okay, then we are going to do something, and if it's an error, then we are going to make an HTTP response unauthorized, or no, let's make it a bad request for this one. So bad request, and we're gonna add JSON to it, and we're gonna just make a basic response with the message e to string. So we're gonna send back the error that the coded throw to us. So and if it went fine, we're gonna just say HTTP response okay with JSON, and we are going to send back a message with, I don't know, authorized. And we're going to also send back the ID, which is in token.claims.id. Yes. And this last statement we don't gonna need anymore, but we're also gonna need to import JWT error. And this one is in, I think it's an error, and as JWT error, we're gonna rename it, and the compiler is gonna probably complain about many things. Yes, what's the problem? Let's see. So could not find error. And in here, what's the problem in here? Oh yeah, I used a semicolon instead of a comma. Yeah, and in here I've missed the type. So let's do that. So this one is, instead of being in errors, and then where is it? This one is okay, this one here, and then we're gonna make this decode response. So going to declare struct. So it's the same, it's gonna derive serialize, deserialize, struct, decode response, which has message string and ID usize. So let's see if that did it. Let's make it full screen for you. And it did not, because validation. Yes, we have to pass it as a what's called reference. And we also make this one to a string because declared it as a string. In here, that's one. To string. So, and we're also going to, no, what's happening? Where is it? There, the validation. So, now it should be fine. Please. Yes, it worked. So, let's wait for it to build. We also, we could already write the HTTP method call that we are going to do. So we're going to get the decode token, and then we're going to add to the body our token. Like that. And ID1 authorized. It worked. So we created a token and we decoded the token. So, but you don't want to pass, like, send your token through the body. That's not like how you should want to handle JWT. You want to give it into the request headers, and then have the route middleware. Probably if you're using something like Express, you would then check for this request header and would validate the token, and then would pass it to the next function by decoding the token and getting the payload and sending the payload to the next router function, something like that. So how we're going to do that in Rust is, or in Actix Web is, we're going to create an extractor, it's called. And an extractor is basically all those function parameters that we added, like the data or the JSON, or where did we had the path. Those are called extractors. And I'm going to show you how we can write our custom extractors, our very own extractors. So therefore, let's create a folder. Let's call this one extractors, and we call it authentication token.rs. So the first thing, I'm gonna write to the file, so it's create the directory. The first thing is we're going to create a struct authentication token. And this one should have the ID. It should have the payload that we've created, that we want to have access to it. So we're also gonna make it public because we're gonna export it or import it into our user or our scopes and other files in our projects. Yes. So we're also gonna need to have derive serialize and deserialize. And yeah, let's import cert serialize, deserialize. And we're also going to need Actix Web from request, because from request is a trait that we need to have to implement it to our authentication token. That's the only thing. It's a little bit of a boilerplate code, but that's the only thing we're gonna have to do, because this is the logic that basically creates our authentication token whenever the route is called. So from request, I can type from request for authentication token. And we're gonna need to define two types here. The first one would be the error, which is Actix Web error. Then I'm going to import soon. Where is it stored? I think it's just called error. Actix Web error. So then we're going to make a type future, which is ready. This is like the result for futures, basically. But this ready also has a result in itself. So and this result is either itself or the error that we defined in here, like the Actix Web error. So now we need to create a function from request. And this one is going to return itself, but the future type that we've declared here. This one, so it's going to return ready result, itself, or Actix Web error. So, but this function needs two parameters. The first one would be the request, which is of type HTTP request, and the second one, we don't going to need it, but it's of type payload. So let's import those two as well. We have HTTP request and dev payload. So yeah, and we're also going to import ready from the standard future crate. So ready, and also the ready function that is going to wrap what we're gonna pass to the function in a ready type. I don't know what's we called like this ready thing here. So yeah, so what are we going to do? So let's make just some comments. The first thing we are going to do is we're gonna get the auth token from the authorization header. Then we're gonna decode the token with the secret that we're also gonna need to access. And then we're gonna return the self, in this case, authentication token. So the first thing is, how can we access the headers inside this function? So to access the headers, we're just gonna call request.headers.get and then HTTP header authorization. That's everything we're gonna need to tell Actix Web to get the authorization value out of the request header. So we also going to need to import all of that stuff into our file. So the first one should be HTTP, and also we're going to need a header value, because this function get is going to return a header value, and we're going to store it in a variable. So it's going to be an option, because it might fail. Authorization might not be there, like it might not be available to us, and it's an option of the type header value. So now we have the auth header. Now we need to get the auth token. And to get the auth token, it's of type string. We are going to say auth header.unwrap. We're going to unwrap it, and let's try to think. This one is a little bit complicated. I might have to look on my second screen. So yeah, we're gonna unwrap it and gonna call true str on it, and then unwrap it again, or else, or it's gonna be just an empty string. Yes, this one should be a little bit complicated. So what are we doing here? So we're gonna unwrap the header, and then we're gonna make it to a string, and this one is returning a result. We're gonna unwrap that again, and if that fails, like if that is none or an error, we're gonna just pass in the value an empty string. And in here you can see, like, it's the code could panic in here. Our server could crash at this moment. So just for sake of simplicity, I'm just gonna let it be here. But you would not want to have it in here. You would most likely want to have a match statement and probably catch the error in a really good way. So we are unwrapping the token, but the token, it might fail, it might be empty. So let's say if it's an empty string, let's return unauthorized. And how we're gonna do that is simply by making if auth token dot is empty, and then we are going to return an error, being error unauthorized, and then we're gonna say like invalid auth token in here. So this error unauthorized, we're also going to need to import. Where is it? Should it be an error? Error unauthorized. Yes, this one should be here. So yeah, this is when the string is empty. Like we didn't have an authorization header, we don't have a token, or this token has kind of weird characters in it, because is empty is also going to return true if it's if auth token, the string has some weird characters in it that aren't like ASCII, or I don't know, like some weird like Chinese or Arabic characters in it. So yeah, and now we have the token. Now we can decode the token like we've done before. So let's go let decode, which is of type, what was it, result, and it's even, it could be data token claims or JWT error. Let's decode. And then here again, we're gonna pass 3 parameters to it. We're gonna pass, first one is the token of itself. And yes, and the second one is then the decoding key. Decoding key from secret. It's oh yeah, we didn't we didn't get the token, the secret, I mean the secret token. So for the secret, we're gonna have to call something like this. And we're gonna say request.appdata, and this is of type web data string, and we need to unwrap that too. So that's all we have to do to have access to our app state inside these custom extractor. If we create a custom extractor, it's available in the request HTTP request object. So secret as SDR, as ref. The last thing is the validation. So validation, new algorithm HS256, and unwrap that. No, we're not gonna unwrap that. We're gonna match that to make really sure that it really worked. So now we're gonna return that. Match the code. And yeah, either it's token, then we're gonna respond with response. No, we are not going to respond. We are not in a route function. We are in an extractor. We are in from request. So what we are going to need to do is we're gonna need to wrap it in a ready and okay, and then we're gonna return itself authentication token with, well, we just need ID token.claims.id, and the last thing is the error, and in here we're just gonna say ready error unauthorized, yes, and unauthorized. That's it. Well, we need to import many things because we have the header value in here, we have the error unauthorized, we have token data, JWT error that we're gonna need to import as well. So use JSON web token. Decoding key. Doing it as well. Algorithm validation. Let's see if that was everything. Let's call. Oh, well, it worked because we didn't import it. So let's do that. So I'm gonna create mod AS in here. And gonna say public struct, not public struct, public mod authentication token. And we're going to our main file and we're gonna import in here extractors. And then we're going to user and we are going to import in here, use create extractors authentication token and authentication token. And then just need to pass it in here. Let's call it auth token authentication token. And then we're just gonna say print line auth token.id. So now it should throw us errors because I probably made some mistakes. So this statement is not surrounded by a body. What does that mean? Neighbors is a comma. Oh, comma. And header value is not in the root. What? Oh, it's yeah. It's because it's in. Is it authentication? Hey, authentication. The header value is inside HTTP. Is it inside HTTP or HTTP header? Let's also add a comma here. Let's see. So validation needs to be a struct. Yes, needs to be a struct, needs to be a reference. This one needs to be, oh yeah, this one also needs to be wrapped inside a ready. So let's do that as well. So this one needs to be a reference and this one needs to be wrapped inside ready. So let's see. So structs, yeah, we need to also import token data, and Yeah, print line is not a function, that's true. It's print line. It's in the .rs. And we also have to make the claims public. So we can import it in our authentication token. So, token data. And then we're gonna use create scopes user claims. So, so this one is wrong. Where's the header value stored? Web, we don't have imported web. So let's also import web in here. Where's the header? HTTP. It's header value. In here. So expected struct string found reference. Oh. So yeah. Another thing is in here, where is it? Secret. So yeah, in here we also have to call toString because this app data function is returning a reference. So we're just gonna create a string out of it. So yeah, let's see. There's still a problem with the header value. So I'm just gonna ask the standard library of, not the standard library, but we're gonna go to Actix Web to the documentation. So box, where is header value stored? It's in HTTP header. Okay. So for the header value, it's in HTTP header. So that's one. We still have some errors because in here it's the auth token, it's toString. In here. Can't be right. This toString is going to be here. So let's see. Still should. Oh, it didn't throw now. So yeah, now it worked. Now let's test. Let's test it. So we've already gotten token. We've decoded the token by sending it through the body. So let's make a request by sending the token through the authorization header. So authorization, and then we're just gonna copy paste this token here in there. And we had access to the protected route. For example, if it didn't work, so we're just gonna manipulate the JWT so it will fail. We're just gonna get an unauthorized back to us. And we can see if gonna make a request again, it's gonna print line the user ID because we have access in it inside our protected route in here. So that's it. That's how you can use JWT in Actix Web and make a custom extractor to have access to the authentication token, to the payload that you stored inside the authentication token inside the JWT. I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and that's it for today. Bye!